So very nice to be here with you Sunday morning. I've just arrived last night from 2 weeks in Penang, staying at VBR in the north. Very nice there. And I was in Thailand on Tudong for a month, and I had an accident towards the end, so I have lots of my knee is still recovering. So these people falling over, we have a sister over here, had a fall, Sue Swan, broken arm, had a fall. This world that we live in is uncertain, unpredictable, not safe, dangerous. I just see the floor tile in here has a crack. No, just to see the. I mean, it's like a changing environment. Here I am in a different environment. We say the same country, but it's still different. For me, it's not New Zealand is my home country. This is Malaysia, different. This very key teaching of the Buddha on change, impermanence, anicca in the Pali. Sabbe sankhara anicca, all conditioned phenomena are impermanent, changing. So I've been reflecting on this almost paradoxical element of practice. So often this encouragement in terms of being present, the now. Now we get so lost in the past. We get caught up in the future with worry and doubt and so forth, and we should just abide in the now, as if there is some thing or some place that is the present moment. So this paradox of the present moment, our experience, and time. Think of time as like maybe this moment, this moment, this moment, this moment. Join all the dots together, and this is kind of like my life. It's a series of events, occurrences, conditions arising and ceasing, arising and ceasing. So in the chanting, many of you are probably familiar with the reflections on Dhamma. Ehipasiko, opanayako, akaliko. The Dhamma is timeless, akaliko. But the image, who knows the historical connection or linguistic, but Kali, akaliko, it's the A is a negation. Kali in the Hindu context, the goddess of time, is a mother, a woman, who's giving birth. Yeah, that's time. Time gives birth to each moment. And Mother Kali is eating her babies. A pretty powerful image. So as time gives birth to this moment is consumed. Kind of recycled in a sense. Depends how far you want to go with the image. Time consumes its own creation. How quickly is that? Like we have this gathering here. You did the chanting had a beginning. Chanting had an end. Now we have me talking. thin do we slice, like my speaking? I say one word, like each word is a condition, it's a point in time, it's a component of my speech. Say my Dhamma talk. We can cut that like a book into chapters, into sentences and so forth, into words, into letters. So our experience is not, the idea is not to somehow freeze. The Buddha's encouragement was not to kind of freeze our life, our experience. So in the Satipatthana Sutta, the Anapanasati Sutta, the Buddha wasn't saying, hold the breath, hold the breath in mind. Like this. It's actually contradictory. This idea of holding is like grasping, upadana, if you're familiar with the Pali. The Buddha's summary of suffering, panchupadana khandha, the grasping of the five khandhas in the Four Noble Truths. It's tanha, it's craving, it's the same energy. The emphasis is just on knowing. So if you study that sutta, it's just simply when, like in terms of the breath, which is a very common meditation object, when you're breathing in a long breath, just simply to know, breathing in a long breath. When you're breathing out, to know that you're breathing out. So the quality is one of knowing. What we know is a flow. We're not locking into some chanting, a mantra, a meditation object, a yellow circle, a blue circle. This idea, it's a very, it kind of largely from the commentaries, this idea of locking into, concentrating, this intense absorption into a single point or single object. This is, you don't find this in the Pali Canon. A sense of maintaining a presence or an awareness of the flow. Even the suggestion, like this question that sometimes comes up, or a thought, what is it that doesn't change? You sometimes hear that. And awareness can be presented as that, that's like the analogy or the image of a screen, movie screen. And the flow of events is like the movie. The light is changing and you get different images. And the screen remains the same. The screen is not... It's a nice contemplation, but actually when you think, no, the screen is changing as well. The molecules of the screen, as the light hits it, or it gets rolled up and it dropped down, it rolled up and dropped down. To recognise a tendency to want to have some thing or some point of reference that's permanent. So many traditions, many religions create God. It's a logical progression. What is it that doesn't change? What is it that's eternal? What is it that we can truly rely on to be the same today and the same tomorrow? And God. Up there. On the third floor. We can go up later and have a chat. And people do that. Create that point of reference. Mother and father, when we're children, we have that kind of sense of... I can remember my son, he's coming up to 50 actually, in June. But I can remember when he was little, talking with him, and something came up, I can't remember, we saw something else. I said, well, I'm going to die one day. He got so upset. Really, he was crying. No. I didn't push it. We want something that's reliable. We want a floor that doesn't break. We want a body that's going to not get sick. Yeah? Of course, we're going to get sick. We want to think, I get sick, but I go to the hospital and they fix me. I get depressed and I can take a pill. We have that kind of worldly inclination in terms of refuge. So Buddhang saranang gacchami, Dhammang saranang gacchami. So how do you perceive, or how do you understand this idea of refuge in Buddha? There's a big statue here. It's just another, like the floor, it's just another condition, it's a point of reference. So like when we bow to the Buddha image, or just when we bow generally, we have, and I encourage you to actually consider what is the nature of your reference. What do you kind of relate to or connect to? So the historical Buddha, it's not like Jesus. Jesus is still somewhere here, somewhere. The Buddha, the idea that the Buddha's death, this like arahant, realization with remainder, so the 5 khandhas still remain, like Siddhartha Gautama, who we refer to as the Buddha, got enlightened, still had a body, still had perceptions, consciousness, and then his final passing, realization, enlightenment, without remainder, nothing left. This realization of the unconditioned. And I'm not going to go there in terms of giving definition, but refuge in Buddha, for me, is in terms of that, like the qualities of the historical Buddha. So to think in terms of that which knows, that which is awake, that which is aware. So we're all alive, and we have 5 senses, so we can see and smell and taste. What is it that I can see? What is it that I can smell and touch and taste? And it's our ability to simply to know. And there is a challenge, a real challenge there, because our seeing, our hearing, as that registers with the mind, again, what a topic for discussion, what the nature of the mind, the nature of consciousness. It's the big question in terms of science, neuroscience and so forth, the nature of consciousness. But your experience, I regularly say, can you hear? Everyone can hear me okay? Yeah. How do you know? How do you know you can hear me? Well, there's my ear and there's an eardrum. And how do you know there's an ear? Well, I can touch it. How do you know? That quality of knowing is actually you can't, what can you say about that? It's your experience, and to wake up to that. You can see my hand, waving if you've got your eyes open. How do you know you can see my hand waving? Two different senses, the knowing is the same. So that kind of model, if you like, or that consideration in terms of like the screen and sound, sights, tastes, so forth, that registering in terms of consciousness, where there's contact, there's consciousness. But that, because that too is changing. The idea that somehow we take refuge in awareness, sati, as if it's some cosmic space or heaven or I mean, just again in terms of theistic religions, the creation of heaven. You see that the cosmology in Buddhism, all the different deva realms. Personally, I interpret those as not necessarily, there are, I mean, the universe is a pretty big place. And you figure that dimensionally and quantum physics and things, there so many things we don't know. But in terms of Dhamma, I translate those realms as psychological states. Somebody tells you how wonderful you are and what a beautiful person, and you go to heaven. And then you do something and people tell you what an idiot you are, stupid creep, and you go to hell, experientially. And the key is our ability to just simply see that, to know that. When you, like in the Satipatthana Sutta, the third one, Cittanupassana, the tone or the quality of the mind, when the mind is contracted, like kind of when you're in hell. We have the capacity to know that. When people ask you, how are you? You have the capacity to say, oh, I'm feeling a bit sad. Or even people have recently in New Zealand a very good friend who has some psychological. But there's a part of that person's mind that recognises that they're crazy. They're not 100%, even though their brain, maybe, what is that? A part that recognises that. We do get lost. We do get lost and we wake up. We get lost, we wake up. And this is what we're cultivating in our practice. So we do use things like the breath, but more following the sense of flow, rather than trying to establish something that's permanent, a permanent state. The craving, in a sense, like back to the second noble truth, tanha. People's efforts in terms of developing jhana, how much of that is based on piti sukha, experiential states that are particularly pleasant. But again, going back, I fell in the river actually. It's a month now and I'm still recovering. So there's unpleasant feeling. And I don't know about you, but my life is a mixture. Pleasant feeling, unpleasant feeling. 50-50, 60-40. recognizing the tendency to want to have some state, some place, even if it's just conceptual, spiritual or something, where there will only be pleasant feeling. So enlightenment, liberation, nibbana, is not always accompanied by pleasant feeling. You study the life of the Buddha. His death, trichinosis, bad pork, or one story. Anyway, the suggestion is that his death was incredibly painful, unpleasant feeling. And then this really was it Subhadra? This man pushing to the front, saying, "Oh, I want to be a monk, I want to be a monk." The Buddha's dying, and the monks are sort of trying to get rid of this guy. And the Buddha said, no, it's okay. You come, and through the pain or whatever, his sense of compassion, and we can talk about it in different ways, but to see the tendency to be enslaved by or driven by or compelled by this kind of dual sensory pleasant feeling and unpleasant feeling. Always looking for pleasant feeling, and in the Second Noble Truth this is bhava tanha. So we have kama tanha, that which is sensual craving for that which is pleasant, so I want to get that. And vibhava tanha, I want to get rid of the opposite. And this can be known. And of course, through our capacity to witness, we can make choices. So I make a choice, I have 3 cushions to prop up, so I think it's not through aversion. I could say, it's through compassion. I can say that, to take care of my body, my best friend. But as I say, the challenge with this knowing or this witnessing or this apprehension of experience is to be able to see the truth. So we have a whole range of perceptual filters that judge things as being good or bad, beautiful or ugly. And this is conditioned by our family environment, mother and father. They say, "Oh, look at that, that's beautiful," when we're little. "Oh, that's the definition of beauty." "Oh, that's bad, that's bad." "Oh, that's the definition of bad." Good, bad, big, small. So there's probably my favourite sutta, the Bahia Sutta. Bahia goes to the Buddha, and the Buddha's actually on alms round, on Bindabat, and Bahia goes down on his knees in front of the Buddha and says, "Oh Lord, here I am, teach me Dhamma." The Buddha says, no, not the right time. For the second time, Bahia says, he says, "Well, here I am and here you are. We don't know what the future might bring. I'm here, you're here, teach me Dhamma." No. For the third time. This is quite common in the suttas. Asking 3 times, and finally the Buddha concedes the importance of the moment, as it were. And it's quite an esoteric teaching, but it's something along the lines, when in the seen, there is just the seen. In the heard, there is just the heard. In the sensed, just the sensed. In the cognized, just the cognized. When you practice in this way, you will be neither here, nor there, nor in between the two. Just this much I call nirvana. So this ability we have to see an object without prejudice, without bias. So we see somebody of a different race, brown, black, green, yellow. We see a particular kind of food. We had a restaurant dana in Penang, and asking the two Asian boys there. It was Western food, sausages and bacon. Asking these two, one was Vietnamese, the other was Malaysian. So what did you think of the food? They didn't like it. For me, my perception, I'm familiar with that. It makes a nice change. Oh, yum, yum. And apparently, it was a group of us. Apparently, several of the group went and bought some street noodles, some real food. The idea of beauty, when you look at a man looks at a woman, or a woman looks at a man, and that's all very confused now with this whole gender thing. This one's beautiful, this one's ugly. This food is tasty, this food is not so nice. To be able to recognize that prejudice, that discrimination, it's not right or wrong because it's part of our conditioning. When I first went to live in North America, I couldn't believe this whole thing with the flag. It's kind of like the Muslims with the Quran. The Americans and the flag, every day at school the kids, they pledge allegiance to the flag and the nation and all this sort of thing. It's just a piece of cloth, like, different colour. But when Americans see that as a physical object, what they see is that whole raft of conditioning through their schooling, everything. I think it's a bit silly. We don't have that in New Zealand. People put up a flag in their front garden. We think they're a bit crazy. It's just perception, sanya. So our ability to look at a Buddha image and see what? Concrete, stone, I don't know what it's made of. It's an object. When you have 100, what do you hear, ringgits? You have a piece of paper, it's got 100 written on it. I don't know, 500 or how it works here. I have no idea about money. What you see is not a piece of paper. I imagine. I can't speak for you. It has real meaning. It has special meaning, as I say, like the Muslims with the Quran. It's just a book. Just many pieces of paper put together like this. Many pieces of paper put together. And I can blow my nose on it. It's not to devalue the relationship that we have, to see that conditioned objects have conventional value in society, in the world. We need to respect that. There's a toilet for men, there's a toilet for women. They have this, what the thing with the food, is it halal or something, this with the dishes and things. I've seen that when I go on Bindabat. Sure, for me, coming from my cultural background, where we don't have that, it's a bit like the American flag. What's the difference, really? It's just plates and knives and forks. But no, that's the way. So can I see that? It's not for me to talk about the American flag or the Quran, or can I see my prejudices, my biases? Can I recognise that actually I don't see what there is to be seen? I see a perception, I see an image, I see a translation, an idea. So in terms of this kind of paradox of being in the present moment and being with the flow of time, it is this kind of paradox, this stillness. We are capable of profound stillness, but it's not permanent. It persists. It seems to persist. I mean, if you're in meditation and you're feeling particularly peaceful, that sense of stillness, without permanence, without this desire, because stillness, my experience of stillness is very pleasant. Not avoiding the discussion on jhana, but just stillness. You're sitting at the beach or something, or in the forest or in the park, or very relaxed and peaceful sense of stillness. And we would like... So when I had my accident, or just generally, I had cancer about 20 years ago. It was really when I started investigating that relationship with unpleasant feeling. Chemotherapy and all of the symptoms around the cancer are really unpleasant. So looking to find a sense of stillness or peace within that. I was in Singapore a while ago, part of this trip from New Zealand, and I noticed in Singapore they have a lot of acronyms. These, like, I can't even remember what they are. All the highways had these 3-letter acronyms. You go on the BGP or something. Everybody knew what they were. So I gave them one. BAPWAF. BAP. WUF. Be at peace, or being at peace with unpleasant feeling. BAPWAF. You can remember that. We can work it into the chanting. Because much of life, like at the moment, parts of my body feel pleasant, and parts of my body feel, if I look, my hands, they're fairly neutral. My shoulders actually feel quite pleasant. I can feel a bit of the aircon. My knee, a little bit uncomfortable. My life, my reality is this mixture. To have an experience or be in a place where 100% pleasant. It's quite rare, actually. According to the temperature, according to your perceptual framework, your memories of so many things. So mental and physical, this whole mixture is a mixture, pleasant and unpleasant. Being at peace with pleasant feeling, not so difficult. But if our peace is limited to that, if our bias, our prejudice, our desires are so oriented towards that limitation, I can only be at peace with pleasant feeling, then actually we're suffering a lot of the time. And that's the nature of the teaching. This third noble truth, nirodho, cessation. It's a cessation of the grasping, of the desire, a letting go of the prejudice, of the bias. It's an ability to be at peace, to relax. Again, playing with this paradox of time and flow. If you're ever going to be happy, it's now. You say, oh, I'll be happy tomorrow because, my friends are coming for dinner and we can have a nice time and I'll be happy. Until then, no, I'm unhappy. You can do that. But seeing the obstacle to happiness is this tendency to be grasping after pleasant feeling, this bhava tanha in the context of kama tanha, the desire for sensuality, sensual pleasure, the desire to get rid of the unpleasant feeling. And the resolution of that, that's the second noble truth, the cause of suffering. The resolution of that is the third noble truth, the cessation, is letting go. To allow this moment to be exactly as it is. It is, It has to be like this, and it will change. And it is changing. Well, we say, that's the paradox. It is changing. No, it's not changing. It's like this. But boop, it's changed. I put the bottle there, put the bottle here, put my left hand. But there is that part of our experience, part of our conscious reality, our perceptual framework, our perceptual reality, that can see that tendency to want to fix, want to make things permanent. In terms of our house, there's a running joke in monasteries. We're going to finish the monasteries, building the monasteries are never finished. There was a senior monk travelling in Egypt, visiting a Christian monastery that had a continuous presence of monks for nearly 2,000 years. So really ancient. And the current abbot of that monastery was taking them on a tour and showing. And he was apologising, sorry about the mess where we have this construction. The monastery is not quite finished yet. Completion, the idea of finishing, even nibbana as this thing that I'm going to get, the state that I'm going to enter into. And a large part of the presumption there is that it will be pleasant. Enlightenment is not always accompanied by pleasant feeling. And it's this ability to simply be at peace with, to accept, to see in the seen what there is to be seen. What can I see now? Well, I can see this. And potentially I can see it without judgment, prejudice, bias. Conventionally we need to, we make choices, I'm thirsty so I have a drink. That's not prejudice or bias, it's common sense, really. Most of the Buddhist teaching is just common sense. And unfortunately common sense is not so common. So seeing this sense of stillness without permanence, this book by Ajahn Chah, Stillness Flowing, that really, it's such a profound expression. And that we can not get that, but we can kind of understand just the nature of conditions. And then it's not problematic. Oh, it's another acronym I gave the Singaporeans. Just to consider, like we see things as a problem. You know, this tile here. I'm a builder, so I see these. see these things. Oh, we've got to fix it. We've got to fix it. It's a problem. Every time I look at it, oh, it's such a problem. To just consider that there are no problems, just solutions in progress. So here we are, and we say, oh, it's too hot, it's too cold. Well, not create that as a problem, but consider a solution. And get the remote and do something. You're thirsty. It's not a problem. What's the solution? Literally a liquid solution. So the acronym is SIP. You have a sip of water. Solution in progress. Because, you know, I mean, it's just words, but when we create things as a problem, well, that becomes a heavy thing. It's, oh, God, this thing, I've got to do this and all this and that. Yeah, but well, how am I going to do that? I'm looking to the solution. I could phone somebody, or, you know, we could just go online and do this, or we could have a meeting, or get the builder in to... So a lot of the sense of progress, it is this flow. It is a kind of like a moving forward from a point of stillness. And you know, it's not a contradiction. Experientially, it's not a contradiction. That letting go, that non-attachment, creates a space that can accommodate everything. Nothing needs to be excluded. Because we can't change this. You know, again, this present moment, this point in time is like this. You're all sitting there, and the lighting, and the weather, this moment, this reality, and then it changes. And we can move with, we can be with, we can witness, be a part of. So the solution really is not control. Control is impossible. It just totally is. People's obsession with power, often related to money. The idea that they can control, get what they want effectively. It's impossible. So the solution really is a sense of participation, cooperation. I was talking this morning, you know, Bubs has this really nice kind of community. For me, coming here, really nice sense of community. Family, cooperation, teamwork, discussion, questions, solutions in progress. And to see that we can do that with our husband and wife. I'm right, but they think they're right. So how do we find a balance? How do we find a working solution? How do we move forward? It's not always easy. Within a neighbourhood, in a business environment. We just don't. People who are obsessed with control, power, are often very isolated. I wouldn't say lonely, I tend to think that. They become increasingly obsessed with their own perception of what's right or how things should be. When there's actually, you know, this idea of contentment with little, When things are relatively simple, well, there's usually not so many problems. The more power, the more money, the more material possessions, all of this, it gets very complicated. I mean, not impossible, you work with what you have, but just seeing, just considering the value of simplicity. How much easier it is to invoke that sense of societal cooperation, compassion, really is what it boils down to. Anyway, I don't know. Lunch is coming up. Another point of change. So anyway, these are just a few thoughts I'll share with you, and hope that that's of some interest or use. I'll leave that there. Nirvana.
Thank you very much, Venerable Ajahn, for sharing the Dhamma with us this morning. I think we have time for one or two questions, if Venerable, it's okay?
Yep.
Yeah. Does anyone want to ask a question? Please raise your hand, and I'll bring the mic to you.
What I've found, when you ask that, are there any questions? Usually everybody looks at the floor. So, is there any topic or theme that you have, that you're developing in your personal practice, in reflection, that you'd like me to?
Venerable Ajahn, if I may ask, Ajahn mentioned that you had experience with the fall and also with cancer. I wonder if Venerable Ajahn can share a bit more about how you worked with those unpleasant feelings and maybe some insights or breakthroughs that you had.
Sure.
Yeah, thank you.
So one frame of reference that I'll suggest, and you can watch that, is the itch. You know, you get an itch, there's someone in the back there. Our bodily sensations, it's a living, it's a flowing, it's an organism. It's not static. There's another itch. You just see, you watch yourself changing posture. We go like this, we go like that, like this. This is not cancer, this is not a broken leg or anything. It's the same. Here's another one. So, like with meditation practice, I mean, classic, say, if you're doing anapanasati, you make the determination you're going to follow the breath, breathing in, breathing out. And then you notice the the beginning of a thought. It's like the itch. Don't scratch. You're not going to die. You have some sensation. Just recognize that the hand wants to go to that part of the body where there's some unpleasant feeling. That's what it is. We change posture, we go like this or something, because there's something uncomfortable, something not pleasant. And we want to move to a place or a position or an experience. We want to alleviate that. We want to take a pill. We want to, wash off the dirt or take away the bad smell or whatever. There's nothing wrong with that. But as a practice, I just say the itch because it's the common one. I have one behind my ear right now. I can feel it. I'm not going to die if I don't scratch. Probably if I wait long enough, it'll just go away, it'll change. Mostly they just stop. But it's not like it's right or wrong. But it's about our experience as a human being working with unpleasant feeling and this desire to establish pleasant feeling. So I smoked cigarettes for many years, nearly 20 years or something. One of the ways that I worked with that was delayed gratification. I wanted to have the cigarette. And I said, well, okay, you can have a cigarette, but you have to wait 10 minutes. No, just relax. You can have the cigarette. You can scratch. There I go, behind my ear. But just watching, really becoming familiar with that second noble truth. Bhava tanha, vibhava tanha. I want this and I want to get rid of that. Bhava tanha, push-pull. More and less. Gain and right. Another itch. The first noble truth, you see, if you look in the Dhammacakka Sutta, it's in there, I know, it might be in other places, but the Buddha's reflecting on the Four Noble Truths and his enlightenment. So he talks about each of the four Noble Truths in terms of three factors. The first is just a recognition of the truth. There is suffering. You need to see that. The second one, the formula is a recognition of the truth, seeing what needs to be done in relation to that truth, and then, most importantly, a recognition that what needs to be done has been done. So with the first noble truth, suffering, see suffering, I imagine most of you have some experience. What needs to be done, it needs to be understood. And to understand something, you have to go there. You know, when I had my accident, I fell in the river. Just in the dark. I just got disoriented and took one extra step and down onto the rocks. Suffering. Physical suffering, mental suffering, you know, like very disoriented and quite confused. To understand, so like to see, okay, quite still, that was the first thing. I could see, be still, okay, have a look. Is there anything broken? I need to understand the nature, the degree of the suffering. I kind of look at it, no, okay, I don't think there's anything. No broken leg, no broken arm, no broken ribs. Okay, it's okay. But a lot of pain. Okay, so mostly muscular. Okay. It's enough kind of partly training. I've done first aid courses. Physical suffering, it's kind of when you cut yourself. First thing you do is have a look. Is it you need a hospital, get some stitches, or it's enough just to clean and put a band-aid? Or you need to have a look. Mental suffering, no, I'm just going to watch some television. I don't want to know about that sadness or that problem or something. I'm going to distract or deny, suppress. No, if I'm going to deal with this, what is the solution in progress? I need to sip it, have a taste of that suffering. Of course, it's not nice. But if I'm to find a solution, I need to have a look. If you're driving your car and you hear a funny noise, oh God, there's a problem. No, it's okay. It's okay. 10 kilometres down the road, boom, the car stops and there's smoke and oh dear. If I'd have stopped, before, have a look, or phone a help or something, do something, some solution, then actually maybe the fix is just you need to put some extra water or some extra oil. That's simple. But if you don't have a look, emotionally, psychologically, if we don't actually start to investigate, people have a nervous breakdown, psychotic, depressed, things like that. So we need to develop that. So the itch, it's just a very simple way to see that experience, the unpleasant feeling. I want to fix it. So of course there's degrees, and itch is very low level. Cancer, broken leg, broken arm, whatever we have. These degrees, but the principle is the same. So when I had the cancer, it was nearly 20 years ago, I was in Canada. That's when I developed this kind of bapwaf. It was so unpleasant, what are you vomiting and God, all your hair falls out and your fingernails. And pretty disgusting for about 6 months. I thought, well, I can really make such a big problem out of this, or I can experiment, explore, and really understand unpleasant feeling. And I'm not saying I've, completely ticked that box, but as a practice, just seeing unpleasant, often with unpleasant feeling we tend to contract, like this, mentally, physically, like physical pain often is a contraction. Muscular, we need to relax. And we relax. And then have a look. So mentally and physically and mentally, we need to be willing to go into a place that is unpleasant. Have a look. I used to the toilet system, they often in the cities they have a central place, but in rural environments they have a tank where everything goes into the tank, and at some point it needs to be empty. That used to be my job. I drove a truck and used to go around. When I first started that job, kind of like you go in the bathroom and there's all this mess from the toilet and everything. But they paid me quite well actually. And I needed the money. It's another story how I ended up getting that job. And after a while, it was okay. Just a smell, that was the worst part. I mean, visually, we're quite averse to all of that messy stuff. After a while, it's just like dirt, mess, wet dirt, mud. My job to clean it up. Okay, here's the money. Thank you. I wasn't really meditating, so it was a long time ago. More than 50 years ago, something like a long time ago. But to see how our willingness to connect with unpleasant feeling, whether it's an itch or a broken leg or cancer or whatever. Say, this is true. This is reality. I have a broken leg. I mean, I don't, for example. That's true. Or I have cancer. I remember when I got the diagnosis, I'm like, oh, okay. Well, the doctor wouldn't lie to me. It's true. And then that reaction, oh, but I don't want it. I'll find another doctor that tells me what I want to hear. What I want is a lie. No, the Dhamma, one of the translations, is truth, reality. I take refuge in the Dhamma. I take refuge in truth. I'm willing to be with, or to investigate, or to accept reality. That's the theory. The practices are not so easy. Yeah.